We are here to get you unstuck wherever you feel like there is no way you can move forward. That is our happy place. And let's talk about it. So, I am a TCM practitioner that will influence the way that I work, and also TCM's cool. So, the way that bow ties are cool.
And jazz hands.
And jazz hands are cool. That was a Doctor Who reference, and the people out there who are laughing really loud, and nobody else got it. So tonight, I'm really excited about because this is so up for people right now. This is something that shouldn't be possible according to what most of us think. You can have a full house, a packed calendar, a phone that keeps buzzing. You might have a partner or kids or and colleagues. You've got a friend group, and you're still lying awake at night feeling alone. And if that's anybody that's listening, the most important thing is not only are you not broken, not only are you not ungrateful, not only are you not making it up, but you're not even weird. That's just up right now. That has a name, it has biology behind it, and it is one of the biggest things that is happening to people right now. It is the loneliness of feeling alone in a full life. So that is today's topic. We emailed some people. I have a schwack of questions that I'm excited for us to answer.
Oh, schwack.
Well, technically a schwack and a half.
Good.
The official measurement.
But before we do that, Sir Dana, any ideas? Anything you want to say?
So much I want to say, but I'm eager to dive into this topic because, for the last few years, with all that we have gone through as a species on this planet, I would say that I'm hearing more and more of this idea about loneliness, and it's kind of reaching epidemic proportions. And I think part of that had to do with the very uncontrollable reality that we just went through in the last 5, 6 years around having our sense of autonomy and control taken away.
Mm.
And that's left people, and we've talked about this idea before, as people have returned, quote unquote, to normal life, quote unquote, people aren't taking the same kind of comfort and finding the same kind of connection and kind of the old routine that occurred before the big disruption. And I get that. I think it's fair that people are once you've tasted a certain kind of anxiety and fear, it's hard to pretend that you didn't go through that. And I think that that's part of where people are paying much more attention to what real connection feels like, and why they are afraid to get back into the normal routine when they know that, man, that normal routine that we thought we had safety in before got disrupted and taken away so easily and so quickly and so thoroughly that I think people are kind of back to their normal, regular daily lives, but still got that specter over their shoulder going, I don't know how to deal with that and the fallout of that feeling of such isolation and disconnection. So I'm always excited to find ways for people to really find genuine, authentic connection that has lots of resilience and can withstand pressures and the ups and downs of this chaos we call our modern lives.
I'm going to say yes. So
I say jazz hands.
for coughing on people. I'm going to throw in a tiny bit of biology because we know science is my fun, happy place. So yes to what Dana said. And also there are biological reasons why people are feeling this as well on top of it. One of that is when we feel like we are in danger, it gets perceived by our biology is in the same way, the same place in our brain, in our system as loneliness. So some of this is crossed wiring. When we are triggered by listening to the news, and really, I just don't think people should do that anymore for the most part, or at least do it in little tiny bite-sized chunks because it's just overloading. It can trigger the same feelings, and we assume some of it is is loneliness. Loneliness, they have done studies, is actually as dangerous as smoking. So it increases the risk of heart disease, the risk of stroke. For older adults, it increases the risk of developing dementia by 50%, which to me is bonkers. It also, they have found that scrolling is really terrible because of how it activates enough of the brain to keep you going for that next tiny little dopamine hit, but it doesn't actually connect you to anything. So scrolling is one of those really weird and dangerous things that so many of us are hooked on these days. And there's also a phenomenon that isn't really being talked about called shallowing. And that's the way that people are trying to keep up with the demand of what they've got to do, because everyone lately has got the in blah blah blah, work more and you got to work more and you can't hire somebody to do this, you better do it yourself. And when that happens, they'll mute their emotional lives to make sure they have enough energy to do the things they need to do. When you are muting pain and you are muting busyness, you also mute joy, you mute delight. So people will go flat because their nervous system is trying to protect them, but then they pay for it with the lack of joy. So that's part of why we're working on this as well today.
Mm-hmm. Well,
Yeah.
I also feel like part of what's happened with the events of the last few years, 5 or 6 years now, I guess technically, is that we as humanity are in shock. And in some ways,
Yeah.
I don't know if people even realize that they're in shock or have the right to recognize, feel like they have the right to recognize that they've been in shock, or that they're still in it. Because and shock is a powerful thing. It sort of changes our reality drastically. And I think the reality that's changed is that people fundamentally had not experienced in a general sense the kind of isolation that we felt uh, with the events of the lockdown and all that went with it. I think people, battle with alone and lonely just as a part of their normal existential crisis on a daily basis, where we're just, we're working through stuff. But because this, I think, was on such on a global scale,
Mhm.
it impacted the entire planet. It impacted everyone in every direction, and we were all going through it together. I think that that's created a kind of shock that hasn't quite worn off yet. The sting of that, the taste of that anxiety and fear is still lingering, even, quote unquote, years after we've gotten back to, again, quote unquote, normal. The
Absolutely.
the context of normal is completely different now. And when we're trying to act like it's not, we're not acknowledging the shock. And without acknowledging the shock, it gets really, really tough to kind of, it's kind of like we're all smiling while sitting on a thumbtack, right? No one's talking about the isolation and shock that they felt and the anxiety that's created, because they sort of are judging themselves and thinking, oh, I'm the only one. But in our work and with the conversations that we have with the massive cross section of people that we're very lucky to work with, we're hearing and seeing and feeling remnants of that, what I'm calling shock, expressed in all kinds of ways, uh, by individuals as they come and work with us. So it feels like a great um, responsibility and a great opportunity, a great blessing for us to like point that out to people and go, hey, you know what? Yeah, we'll never break confidence, but generally speaking, like you're not the only one who's feeling that way, and it's okay. We're talking to a lot of people who feel that way. In fact, we feel that way sometimes. So let's address that together and take the stigma out of it and take the, oh, it's just me, I'm the only one. That idea of being the only one is one of the most powerful ways that shame stays locked into a person's emotional energy. And any chance we have to bring people free from that, but at least even just presenting them another option, we're excited to take.
Yeah.
I think the big difference too is it was something that was. I mean, for me, it was like watching global crimes against humanity. It was just shocking, and
Oh yeah.
Mm.
it's not like it's done. They just shifted gears because they didn't fully get away with that one thing. So it's not like it's done either.
Yeah, and that's definitely part of it too, is that there's an aspect that's I think lingering very reasonably in most people's psyches right now, which
Mm.
is like hey, we didn't think we'd ever go through anything like that. We didn't think that things that were done could be done that way. So what's next?
Yeah.
Can I devil's advocate though?
Yeah, of course. One of us usually does.
Welcome to Thursday at our house, folks.
Yeah. Dinner conversations are very lively between us and our household.
So this might be my Pollyanna brain, but
I'm almost
in
going to say right away, I don't think so. I think I know where you're going, and I think that's not Pollyanna at all. It's actually quite full of a lot of courage and hope, which is awesome because that's where we always want to end up.
that
Courage
is
and hope.
that is. So I feel like a lot of this is people growing up. And
Oh, yeah.
I don't mean like, oh my God, grow up people, but every time we tackle something new, manage something harder than we've managed before, see something we refused to see before because we weren't capable of handling it,
Mm.
things shift. And I think as a human race, I think as a global community, I think we are learning to grow up into the next stage of our evolution. And rather than pretending that this stuff wasn't there all the time, because it is like, when is there a time in humanity where
Yeah.
this stuff hasn't been around?
Mm.
And I mean, when was it Genghis Khan that the temperature of the earth changed because he just chopped down, like he killed so many people and he chopped down so many forests that the earth's temperature changed because he killed so many people. That's bonkers.
Mhm.
And he couldn't even fly a jet over them.
Yes.
Like he was just hacking and slashing.
Did the good old fashioned way by hand. Yeah.
So I think as humans, we're starting to not pretend everything's great because I'm fine in this moment. We're going, everything's not great. And
Mm.
I want to and can do something about it, even if I don't know what that is yet.
Mhm.
So I think this is a an evolution moment for us.
Ah,
Next level, stepping in our power.
yeah,
Absolutely.
most
Yeah.
definitely. Because I think what's on the positive side of this, and we're not ever in any denial or pretending that everything's wonderful when it's not. That's not an intelligent strategy either. But on the positive side of this, I see people more and more finding and forging their own connection, stepping up and being more courageous to assert their own personal authority on behalf of themselves and others. And I find like more good people are leaning on more good people
Yeah.
more.
Yeah.
So we're like, well, okay, this idea that, if we play by the rules, quote unquote, and we do everything we're supposed to, it's all always going to be fair. I think that we've been divested of that kind of thinking in a very, very present time way. And just like with all humanity and all experience in life, you know, good people get better, you know, bad people, quote unquote, weak-minded people get worse. But let's focus on the good people getting better. I'm seeing people come together and support each other. There's
Yeah.
there's a kind of a more of an old school, neighborly, code that's being enacted by people. Like they're reaching out, we're taking care of each other better because we realize that all we've got is us. We can only rely on each ourselves and each other. And that's kind of beautiful because it's created more openness, created more vulnerability. People are speaking and talking to each other more about how they feel, and people are turning to each other more to be their backup, to be their support. And in a weird way, having our connection and our ability to connect so truncated and so pulled away from us, now that we've got it back, it almost feels like people, maybe they don't know how, and that's okay. We're all learning. It almost feels like people have more of the desire to make sure that we never go through that kind of enforced disconnection again, no matter what. We're taking more responsibility for looking after each other. And I think that that's even another wonderful reason to be really, supportive around encouraging people to do that. And it's an easier place for us because we're hearing so many of the common themes go on from so many different people, so many different walks of life.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas most people are just experiencing their own life and what they're experiencing, right? We're in this privileged position where people give us their trust and their openness and they tell us about what's going on. And we can share that and say, yeah, you know what? I know this feels terrible and you feel isolated like you're the only one, but you're not. Everybody's going through that on some level, in some way. And we can take power back to take care of ourselves as opposed to playing along with the rules of, oh, of course, if we do everything right, everyone's going to do everything for us. Well, that was clearly not true in the events of the last 5, 6 years. So
Yeah.
I'm loving the fact that people are coming together more, which is great.
Word. Jazz
There we go.
hands. Okay, questions?
Yeah, great.
I've got 2 dozen, so we're not going to get through all of them,
Yeah,
but let me pick and choose.
might be some common themes though.
So let's start. Speaking of modernity, let's do one of the modern ones.
Mm,
I've started talking to AI chatbots when I feel lonely
mm,
because it's easier than the complexity of real relationships. I know that probably sounds really sad, but I wanted to be honest because I don't think I'm the only one doing this. And I wonder what you think it says about where we're at as a society and
mm,
what I can do about it.
mm. Yeah, that's a powerful question. Great question.
Yeah.
I've got thoughts, of
I
course.
I say let's start with you.
Sure. Well, first of all, I can say to the wonderful, brave person who put this question forward to us, we've
Hmm.
got such a great community that we work with. It's been great reaching out and asking questions because
Yeah.
people are just here. We got lots. You're not the only one. You're not the only one at all by any stretch of the imagination. Where I think that that's potentially a positive thing is because uh, it's making us realize, uh, one, that it's the little moments of connection in the midst of our daily lives and our daily personal struggles, right? That saying where there's lots of different memes that talk about this saying I'm going to mention now, but the idea of like default to being kind to people because you never know what they're going through on a daily basis. Like you don't know what their circumstance is. You don't know what's happening for them, in their lives at that moment. So default to kindness and give that person a chance to receive some of it. I think that that's echoed in this question because people are having a harder time waiting to exhale. They can't hold their breath as long.
Mm,
And it's not good that we feel like we have to. So, sure, AI right now and chatbots are a place that people are finding some room to exhale, some moment to moment. Hey, I know I can't change the situation I'm in. I'm not done with my workday yet. I'm still in a financial bind that I can't fix, with the snap of a finger. But while I'm learning to handle it, while I'm doing my best to cope and to get to a better place where I can handle more of the problems that I'm facing, I'm going to take these little breathers and get some little reassurance. If that's encouraging to you, I say have at it because it's getting us back into an exchange of encouragement, and it's amazing to me and shockingly painful to me at times to see how many people I've encountered and worked with who are good people who have genuinely not ever really received any sincere encouragement. Like
yeah.
I would say it's on epidemic proportions where people are just going through their whole lives trying to do their best, trying to be good people and never have anyone basically get great job. You are doing really well and you can do even better. What else do you want to do? So the AI component of that to me is I think this is a grand opportunity for us to really realize what AI is and what AI isn't. Like all advances in technology, AI is a tool, and tools don't have any inherent power of their own. How we use them determines their efficacy and power. So if people are reaching out to AI, having those chats, at least examining how they feel and looking for reflection of the context that they're in through their emotional experience, that's a great tool to use because it's going to encourage you to realize that you can also do that with other people.
Hmm.
You can do that in life. You can do that in a way that isn't overwhelming, that isn't inappropriate. When somebody asks you, maybe the simplest way to say that is when somebody asks you how you're doing, tell them. And if you give yourself a bit of room to have the courage to say, yeah, I'm having a bit of a tough time, right? They don't need to know why. They don't need to know all the details because it's the emotional component that's the most important. Yeah, I'm having a tough time today, feeling a little down today. You might give that person an incredible gift. One, they'll feel trusted. Two, because they feel trusted, they'll feel respected. Three, because they feel trusted and respected, they'll feel like they might be able to take that same little risk as well too. And then before you know it, instead of a dead conversation around things that we actually really don't care about that we're masking with, we're standing at the water cooler or we're getting a coffee and we've had a moment of a little bit of encouragement with our fellow human. They've been able to say, yeah, I got it. I get it. Yeah, that's a little tough. I'm sorry that you're going through that. Yeah, I'm kind of going through a similar thing, or I've never gone through that, but man, it makes me think of this thing that I went through. You know, that was a little tough. Here's what I got through. So good luck. Even that, when it's genuine and grounded and people are present with each other, it's not really even a matter of so much what words we use. It's
Mhm.
the energy that we exchange. The energy of like, hey, I got you. I get it. I get it. And thank you for getting me. You know, that's where we encourage someone to, pick themselves up and keep moving forward. So if that conversation is accessible on a chatbot and starts that way, my hope and wish for everyone is that it builds their confidence that they can actually have those conversations, not in place of a chatbot or vice versa, in place of a human, but they can have those conversations with themselves first and foremost, and then
Mhm.
share them with the people around them.
Yeah. And I think to add to that, love or hate AI or somewhere in between, it's not going anywhere. So how can you use it to build the relationships you want to build? And the easiest two ways are, one, you've been talking to chatbots for a while, say, hey, chatbot buddy, you know me pretty well by now. What are the three things that you think that if I evolve them or change them, that I would be a happier person in my relationships in the real world? And the other one is, um, put in the things that you're concerned about. Hey, I've been invited to a blah, blah, blah with people, and I'm really nervous about going. I feel like it's going to be too hard for me. Can you suggest conversation starters? Can you tell me the things that I could work on before I get there? Can you suggest ways for me to, et cetera, et cetera? Because you can actually say, can you go on to, make sure you scan Reddit, make sure you scan psychological papers. Can you give me three suggestions that will make this easier for me? And the things that you are not good at in IRL are the things that you can get coached on.
I love that too, just because at least in some form, and I think this is related to the overall topic that we started with. Part of the reason why I think people are feeling so disconnected and so lonely on the external, from the external factor, when we're isolated and legislated to not be in connection, that's going to be shocking. But two, I think people feel really disconnected from themselves. And if a chatbot or an AI conversation or prompt is a way to help you even get a conversation started with yourself,
Yeah.
that's a fantastic thing that allows you to at least be aware of the places where you are feeling isolated and lonely and start to confront them, start to communicate with them so that you get some idea of what your own thoughts are. And I'll tell you, if there's anything that's going to build confidence in participating with other people, is having a clearer and better, more connected and well-informed sense of your own thoughts and feelings. And that translates directly into being more confident and comfortable in sharing with people. And participation is what we're here to do. So I think we've been given after some real hardship, I think we've been given a great opportunity to, just like you said earlier, Nicole, like kind of take that power back, right? And I'm not talking about, storming the ramparts or anything like that, but a group of connected people who share with each other, empathize with each other, are pretty powerful and can do a lot more than it would look like they could do on paper because they're doing it in participation with others. That's something that I think is a profound way to overcome these aspects of isolation and loneliness, right? Get back to community because that's always within our grasp. No matter what the external factors are, we can always find ways to reach out and connect with each other.
Question two.
Beautiful.
Question two. I'm 67 and I don't know what the crap to do. Sorry, that's just a great opening line.
Mhm.
My friends are moving away. Some have died. My kids are busy with their own lives. I was always a social person, and now I genuinely don't know how to make new connections at this stage of life. Everything feels like it was designed for younger people. I actually know the person who wrote this, and just so we are clear on the outside perspective, this person is 67 going on 35. So in a good way,
Mhm.
right? In a good way. So that's part of the challenge is um, they're talking about in another part of the note, they're talking about how people their age feel too old,
Mhm.
Yeah.
but they don't want to be that weird, creepy person who's hanging out with the younger people.
No, I say be the weird, creepy person.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
That's someone almost that age and who isn't identifying as an old person either.
yeah,
Creep the hell
hey,
out.
geared away. Let your freak flag fly, man.
Oh, I love
It-
that.
It's actually kind of interesting too, just as a quick thought, and I want to hear, your answer. I talked
Mm,
for a bit there before. Um, uh, Personally, at my age now, I've really discovered some wonderful openness, from technically, the people that two generations younger than us,
mhm.
and them being interested in, just what our life experience has been. It's been kind of surprising, but really pleasant and wonderful. If you just, you know, I think so much of it's such a cliche thing, but it's cliche because it's true. It's just so, well, be yourself. Just be yourself, and it's amazing how when you are really interested in something, the room that people will give you just because of your level of interest. They may not even be interested in the thing you're interested in, but people get genuinely excited when they feel like something valuable is being shared, and they just become interested in your interest because you're so interested in something. They will get excited by how interested you are in that thing, even if they don't necessarily have a personal interest in that thing itself. But that just again speaks to sincerity and authenticity, and taking those little sea courage risks of saying, actually, well, I don't actually think that. I think this. Or actually, you know what? Yeah, I know that everybody wants to do that these days, but I want to do this. Um, that energy becomes contagious and kind of crosses generational gaps. I feel so lucky to have, really lively and enjoyable conversations with so many people that we work with who are, two generations removed from me in either direction, either younger or older. And, we land in that place where we realize, yeah, we grew up in different ways. We had different experiences, different times, but we kind of got more in common than we have that are differences. So, again, it kind of comes down to that the little increments of putting yourself out there are where real connection is built, right? Trying to take a big leap into some new social circle because there's something in that group that you aspire to, or they think that they're going to give you, or that you're missing because you're not in that group or social circle. You know, have a chat with the person standing at the bus stop.
Mm,
How's it going? How you doing? Right? And you don't have to spill your guts to them, and you certainly don't have to approach them like they've got to tell you every detail about their life. But man, is it amazing how people respond, and I feel it and see it every day, to just like, hey, how's it going? How are you today? How's your day?
mm.
Oh, bus is coming. Yeah, I know. I'm always waiting for it too. Kind of cold. Yeah, oh, yeah. Well, you get a hot coffee when you get to work. That right? Like just those simple kinds of expressions of interest in just how another person's actually doing. I think cut across so many false lines that, you know, social media and media in general kind of try to slot us all into.
Mm.
Yeah. And
Yeah, a lot of it's coming from media programming. I was gonna
Oh
add
my
that.
gosh.
yeah.
So much more than ever in human history because
Yep.
of the level of technology and accessibility to, that which is supposed to tell us how we're supposed to be thinking and feeling. It's quite profound. We've never gone through this before as a species on this planet, not to this extent.
Well, and I'm going to add to that. Actually, I'm going to read another snippet from another email and then I'm going to answer it because I think they tie together. So the other
Mm,
snippet
love it.
is I've tried joining things, a book club, a running group, a class. I show up and I'm friendly and people seem to like me, but it never goes deeper than surface. How do you get past the acquaintance phase as an adult? It feels like everyone already has their people.
Mm, yeah, that's a good one.
So my answer for the two of these is goes back to, all the when you're talking about courage, is having the courage to show up as yourself. Because so many of us have been trained out of that. And my life gets exponentially better and I have better conversations with people and I feel more connected to people the more I stop trying to be the person that I think they want and the person I was taught to be by external forces. And the more I lean into, yeah, this is just who I am. And this is ages ago now. Somebody said, what do you do? And I really try to avoid telling people what I do oftentimes because it's really hit or miss. Sometimes people just back away slowly. And so I said, oh, currently I do this, blah, blah, blah. This a big change from before. I was actually working on my PhD in English years ago. And so people started the whole, oh, do you like Proust or Derrida more? And I was like, oh, I remember them. They're people. They wrote stuff. But and it was this very like I felt very highbrow. And for about 3 seconds, I thought, ooh, look at me, I'm being highbrow. And then a person next to that person said, yeah, I don't really love Derrida or Proust, but Charles DeLint, if you're into fantasy books. And I went, you do not read Charles DeLint. And we had this amazing conversation about the potential in fantasy literature and how it informs real life in a way that we can get to more directly. It's super weird and niche, and other people drifted away from the conversation, which was great because they were still talking about Proust. No offense to Proust. I'm sure Proust is Prousty.
Guaranteed.
But when you go, hey, this is my weirdness, you get to find your other weird people faster. So that is my answer to
Yeah,
those
definitely.
things.
What's making me think about martial arts?
Really? That's weird.
Yeah, I
You
know.
never think about martial arts.
Never at all. I've had so many great conversations with people about martial arts who have never trained martial arts, who probably never will train martial arts, never have wanted to, don't know much about them, but because it's such a genuine nerd quirk of mine, uh, and I don't bombard people with it. If they, don't ask me, I don't talk about it necessarily. But if they bring up any interest, I'm more than happy to answer questions. It's so cool how interested they become just because I'm so interested. It's just a perfect example of what I was trying to share a moment ago. That and it's not martial arts. It's not even, you know, the way I talk about it. It's just the fact that I'm authentically interested in something and I'm willing to share it with them. That authenticity, I think, is part of what draws people to you. And if it backs some people away, that's okay because that creates the space for the people who it's going to draw in to arrive. And that can feel like a vulnerable and scary thing. When you're feeling isolated and a little disconnected from yourself. But it's one of the surefire ways to get that connection back and to get that feeling back. And I think more and more and more uh, people are returning to, because it's kind of all we had, to an exchange of quality with one another. And quality is that which we care is measured in the things that we care about. So if I'm actually talking and willing to share with someone my true thoughts about something that I care about, just that act of trust alone in yourself and the gift of that trust to another person breeds a whole different kind of space for connection. And we don't have to agree on stuff. It doesn't even have to be that we're talking about exactly the same interests. In fact, it's sometimes more interesting when you're talking to someone whose interests are very different than your own, because you actually learn something if you're willing to.
Oh
And
yeah,
that's
you want
that's
to be
a
popular in a group? Ask
yeah,
why.
yeah.
You want to make Dana very happy when you meet him next, people. Um, Certainly you can say, "Oh, one of the things you do is you're a drummer. Who's your one of your favorite drummers?" And then you follow up with, "I don't really know a lot about drumming, so I can't speak to this, but tell me why Neil Peart's a great drummer." Like I'd love to hear why. He will be very happy. You will learn things that you've never thought of before. And also Rush,
Jazz hands.
jazz hand.
That couldn't be more true, and I would happily launch into an expose as to why Neil Peart was such a great drummer in a second.
Still my favorite concert, I will say, bar none, going to Rush with Dana, A, because it is one of his favorite bands, but B, because bless the people who go to Rush. It's the only concert I've ever been to where I walked into the women's bathroom and I could just walk into a stall and pee because there was no lineup.
Mostly nerd dudes
Almost
whom I
entirely
love
nerd
every
dudes.
one of.
Yep. They were very friendly nerd dudes.
Who
Okay.
aren't ashamed of being nerd dudes. It's pretty cool.
Shockingly, we probably only have time for a couple more questions.
Oh my goodness, can't believe it.
Wow, you
I
do.
know,
Yeah,
right?
that's even when I'm trying to be economic with my words, the time just flies.
I already know Dana's answer to this one, but
Mm,
I'm going to read it out loud anyway, just because it's nice giving you a, oh, sports analogy, giving you a softball.
excellent.
Yes,
Good job.
yes.
Well done.
Sports teams.
Go sports games.
Go sports games. The question is, or the question is, I've been thinking about this a lot, and I wonder if the problem isn't other people. It's that I don't really know myself anymore. Like I've spent so many years being what everyone needs me to be that I've lost the thread of who I actually am. Can loneliness come from being disconnected from yourself, not just other people?
Hmm.
Absolutely.
I was going to say short answer, yes.
Big time. Um, yeah, this is really interesting, and I didn't know this question before you just read it
That's
off.
why I don't tell you them because you like being
I
surprised.
knew, and I didn't have a chance to look at them all beforehand, but it kind of goes along the lines of something that we've talked about that's a regular theme in any of the discussions we have here in this great forum, which is, the most important thing you can do is pay attention to how you feel. And lately I've been finding, and I work lots with, teams and partnerships, whether they're professional or personal, romantic relationships, friendships, family relationships, and kind of this common denominator of advice or direction that I give people when they ask me is, let's say in a marriage or relationship, how do I improve communication with my partner? How do I, deeper and stronger and trusting in my relationship? And my answer is becoming more and more singularly the idea of become an expert on that person's needs.
Hmm.
Become an absolute expert on that person's needs. One, because that'll inspire them hopefully to do the same thing. Two, if they do the same thing and you're both trying to become experts on meeting each other's needs, then you're really in a mutual exchange and that's full of reciprocity and trust. And two, if they don't make that kind of effort towards you and on your behalf, then that tells you a lot about who they truly are, where they truly are, and what their true motivations actually are. And that might give you some insight to get out of that situation if you don't feel like qualitatively you're in a good exchange with each other that's equal and fair. The aspect of that speaks right to this question is become an expert in knowing what your own needs are. Become an expert in knowing yourself. Because the more capacity you have to understand who you are, why you feel what you feel, how you express what you feel, how you don't express what you feel, the greater your confidence will be, because you'll recognize very easily the difference between being alone and being lonely.
Hmm.
And that kind of brings us full circle back to what we started with, right? We have a lot of people talking about how they're surrounded by people who apparently love them. They're surrounded by friends and family. They're surrounded by coworkers. You think the world of them, but they're feeling lonely to a degree that they can't overcome, that they're feeling overwhelmed by. That I think has to speaks right to the heart of that question, which is, yeah, definitely. If you are disconnected from yourself, if you've lost the focus that you're allowed to have and giving yourself permission to have the focus on taking care of yourself, being responsible for yourself, being accountable to yourself. In other words, doing all the things that make you an expert in you, then yeah, the possibility that you're going to feel lonely, disconnected, and isolated is going to grow, because we can only feel as connected and as worthy of belonging to a group as we feel to ourselves individually first. And if that's diminished because you're kind of bypassing and subcontracting out your self-worth on someone else, like, oh, well, they've got to make me feel like I'm valuable. They've got to make me feel like I'm worth being listened to. They've got to make me feel like I'm worthy of respect. Then that's a surefire sign that you've kind of absconded and given up from the responsibility, but kind of given up the power that you have individually of becoming an expert in yourself and the importance of that, paying attention to how you actually feel, not so that you can manipulate or force other people to treat you in all the ways you think you want, but that you're aware of what your why is and you can walk with it without shame into the world with some dignity, with some confidence that allows you to be discerning about how you participate with people.
Fair. I'm going to say yes.
Very good. I'd say that's the short form answer. Absolutely, and yes, it can impact our ability to feel
Well,
connected to others.
and I would add to that, I think we're running on old programming, so many of us, on what working on yourself and getting to know yourself really means. Because for most people, it's terrifying, and that's why we've allowed ourselves to not know ourselves.
Mm.
I had an awesome 10-year-old client come in last week, and they were super courageous. And part of the reason I say that is because they came in, sat down on the sofa with their mom, and just quietly cried. And they were quietly crying because they were terrified to talk about the thing they knew their mom was bringing them to talk about and for us to work on. And they showed up anyway. And you could see the change when I said, basically, hey, I have one rule, and my rule is, well, I actually have a couple, but my first most important rule is you're not wrong. So I'm not here to make you feel ashamed and tell you why this is your fault. I'm here to help find the glitch in your system so that this thing that isn't your fault can change. And the change, like, but the kid who walked out was not the kid who walked in.
Hmm.
An awesome kid, too. But so many of us have learned that it's the old no pain, no gain version of, oh, okay, I'm going to go to therapy and I have to bare my soul and they're going to tell me where I've failed everyone and everyone, it's going to be so terrible. Yeah, get a new therapist then. Like, you should not feel like crap every time you walk out of therapy. You can face some hard things, but you should not be feeling ashamed by any of the stuff you're working on. And that's why, whether it's Black Belt Mind stuff that we do or nap things or the audios we do, they're all about, let's get the shame out of it. Let's just figure out there's a glitch. Okay. You don't have to be the worst person in the world because you've got a glitch. You cannot like the things you've done while glitching, but that's very much different from, okay, there's an issue. And the more I talk about, okay, I'm going to not be excited.
Please be excited.
The more I research epigenetics, the more I apply it in real life when I'm working with people, when we're working with groups, the more I see that almost all of the things that really glitch us out the fastest and the hardest, they're inherited. And that's why they're glitching us so hard, because they've been in our lineage for 2, 3, 6, 20 generations, more than that sometimes. And we don't even know why we're doing what we're doing. So we assume we're the problem. When you can take it back and go, nah, man, this is inherited. Let's just move it. We don't have to care about it. We don't even have to know why it's there, but let's give you permission to shift and change it. You take that level of shame and blame away and give people the responsibility to change it without having to wear it. Then working on yourself is just fun.
Mm-hmm.
It's supposed to be fun.
Yeah, it doesn't mean that sometimes it's not going to be challenging or hard, but all growth brings that opportunity. But there's deep satisfaction in knowing that you can face something that's challenging or hard, and you can actually handle it, and you can
Yeah.
actually overcome it. That's where it's quote unquote joyous.
Yeah.
And just like a hard workout or a good run or a tough conversation, there's value in doing hard things, and I think that that's where the last sort of point I want to make around that the answering that question is to really encourage everybody to remember that this idea of focusing on yourself, like, becoming an expert in yourself, paying attention to how you feel. It's not about being indulgent at all, actually. And actually, indulgence is a form of escape in many ways. Doesn't mean that we can't enjoy things, but we're not, advocating this idea that, oh, I just feel this way, so I can do whatever I want. Well, you can try that strategy if you want to, but that's not going to go so well because you're going to inevitably run into people who patently disagree with that freedom you've just now granted yourself at their expense. So we're not talking about being indulgent. We're not talking about being self-absorbed. We're talking about paying attention and putting your focus on understanding yourself, because that's the place where we can actually be much more positively empowered and responsible for ourselves and accountable to ourselves. And that's where real confidence comes from, because that also breeds real humility. When you have to look at yourself and go, yeah, that probably wasn't the best reaction I could have had to that situation. You have to humble yourself to look at that objectively and try to figure out, maybe I could have done this better. Or how could I have grown in this situation so that I don't end up in a situation like that again? So I don't have to act in a manner that I'm not super pleased or proud of. Right. So this idea of paying attention to yourself in the manner that we're languaging it is about really empowering yourself to develop a sense of who you actually are. Because if you don't know who you are, this crazy things happens called other people will tell you.
Mhm.
And if other people are telling you, then they've got a stake in your action. They've got a way to impact you, control you. If they're doing it destructively, they actually try to shame you. But if you know who you are, you've already done that inventory. You've already done that work. You know what your strengths are. You build them. You do your best to make them stronger. You also know what your weaknesses are. You humble yourself to those things. You try to learn about them so that you can grow and just continue to be a better and better and better version of yourself. There's nothing like frivolous or indulgent about that. So I want to just keep everybody encouraged in that direction. We're not just saying, hey, just do whatever you want, whenever you want, all the time, no matter what the consequences. Because as we all learn, hopefully, as we get older, there are consequences in life. Absolutely. You make a choice in one direction, you eliminate the possibilities of all the choices in the other direction. But I think that cultivates a mentality that makes you realize two important factors, at least to me, that I just will share and to close this idea up. One, don't put all this pressure on yourself to get everything you want all the time,
Mm.
because it's impossible and it's not going to happen. And I don't say that as a discouragement, I say that as an encouragement. Why? Because it's connected to the idea that when you know yourself and you understand who you are, what your values are, what your meaning is, what drives you, what inspires you, well, then you get to do this other awesome thing is you get what you choose.
Mm.
And then, man, you start really realizing that the things that you choose, if they have meaning and value, they become things you cherish and that inspire and fuel you and fortify your why. And I would much rather live in the reality of, being able to enjoy the things that I choose because I knew I chose wisely, than run around in the fantasy and the perfection driven idea that I'm only gonna be happy if I get everything I want all the time.
That was you missed the physical. There was a lot of hand waving.
There
It
was.
was very exciting.
They were almost jazz hands like, and
I
now
was going to say, but
jazz
not jazz
hands.
hands.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, we have 5 minutes.
Oh my goodness, how's that real?
I'm going to read two snippets together because I think they're the same answer personally.
Wonderful.
So, snippet one, I work from home, and some days I realize I haven't spoken to a single person out loud. I thought I'd love remote work, and in some ways I do, but the silence has started to feel heavy. I'm not sure how to build community when my life is mostly a screen.
Mm.
And the next one is, which is going to sound very different, but I think it's actually the same. I think it's related.
Mm.
I'm in recovery, and most of my old friends were drinking friends. I don't want that life back, but sober social life is harder to build than I expected, and AA isn't really my thing. I feel like I left one world and haven't found another one yet. How do people do this? So I know what you have to say. We have definitely only have 5 minutes. Part of this, though, is this is no different than when you were five. Like it was hard when you were five going to
Yeah.
kindergarten and making friends. It really isn't harder. It's just that nobody's forcing us to go to kindergarten now. So this idea of I've run into this new weird thing called I don't know how to make friends, it is neither new nor weird.
Mm-hmm.
That is the human condition. We just need a place to go that's kindergartenish. I have a better answer than that, but you first.
I actually am excited to hear the rest of that, if you don't mind. But I can also put my 2 cents in.
The short version for me is the answer for both kind of is the same thing as we've been saying, which is find out who you are and what matters to you.
Mm-hmm.
And be really honest with that, and don't be ashamed of who you are and what matters for you to you, because that's how you then build community, and that's how you find your new world, is rather than wandering around and hoping you bump into someone that magically is going to complete you. You get to choose where you go to meet those people. If you're a Ren Fair person, just own it. Go to the Ren Fair, right? Ask somebody how to sew a 16th century apron. But stop pretending you're not a Ren Fair person, because if that's what makes your socks roll up and down, that's cool. You're the nichest nerd in the room. You got lots of stuff to talk about.
You're learning exactly the places the idea that you're the only one feeling that way.
Mm.
Because in some way, shape, or form, everybody has felt that awkward and that isolated
Mhm.
and feels like they're the only one feeling it. So if you can remember that, I might not be the only person that's feeling this way, that's going to give you some permission to do, what I call, and I guess many people call it, like follow your resonance. In simple terms, like do what lights you up and follow what lights you up.
Mhm.
And if you're genuine about that, maybe it's not going to happen overnight. You're not going to stumble into a room full of welcoming strangers who just want to embrace you, but you're going to find more and more people and find more and more little communities. Because again, remember, community and connection doesn't have to be grandiose and big. A small group of people can come together and do powerful things when they've got similar inspirations, and that's just as valuable. It's not showy, it's not for performance, but it really is meaningful. Do what lights you up and follow that.
Yeah.
That'll lead you to new places online. That'll lead you to new, all this technology that we've got. It's about connection. It'll lead you through that, maze in a way that will bring you closer and closer and closer to other people who light up in similar ways as you do to similar things. And man, you step into a space like that, it's amazing how welcoming people want to be and are, because if they're in that community and they've stumbled into it before you have, they'll know what it's like and remember what it's like to feel like they didn't have a place to go and connect. And I regardless of all that we've gone through and all that we're capable of in terms of all the difficult and destructive things that are going on right now, I still believe that most human beings are basically good.
Mm.
Give them a chance to be that, and they will. And I think that applies to, welcoming and connecting and sharing and being empathetic around the idea that, hey, I know what that feels like to be by myself and be isolated. I don't want that for you. Come on in. Tell us who you are. Tell us about yourself. You're welcome.
And 30 seconds, and then we're done, I think.
Mm.
My last 30 seconds is a lot of what is keeping people locked into this feeling of loneliness isn't an absence of people or an absence of possibility of connection, is old agreement.
Mm-hmm.
So it's an old agreement that says some part of your brain has decided to agree with at a time before you remember, I'm too much, or I'm going to get hurt, or I'm not good enough, or they're going to think I'm too, whatever it is, right? I'm too
I'm to
this.
something. Fill
I'm
in the
too
blank.
something. So those agreements were made for a reason, and they protected you, but now they're the things stopping you from connecting. So you are allowed to change those agreements if they are stopping you from doing something that feels good.
Here, jazz hands.
Get hands.
Jazz hands.
Mm.
Oh, and perfect in time too. Holy cow! But we do have to do some shameless self promotion. But this is really good today. It might be good to do a two-parter with the rest of the questions if you guys are up
Love
for it.
to.
Mm,
That'd be
that's a
great if
great
that's
idea.
Can't
thanks for
leave
that
half a
suggestion.
schwack undone, you know?
Yeah, for sure, right? And we had a schwack. We had a whole schwack and a half. So
Yeah, there's
we
it's
got
an
we
interesting
got some
sense.
work to do. And thanks for all the questions, everyone. We love them, and we're happy to address directly the things that you bring to the table and just give you our perspective, right? Not that we're the be all and the end all, but We want to contribute to the conversation, and we appreciate you contributing your questions to the conversation. It gives us some great focus, and is really exciting for us.
So sooner or later, we're going to do a live call-in show.
That'd be
Until
awesome.
then, feel free to email us at yourdigitaldojo@gmail.com with questions or comments or things you'd like us to cover, because we'd be happy to include your question. And as you've noticed, we will not include your name because
For sure.
we're not here to make you feel awkward. And if you want to learn how to work with those old agreements, NAP and the Black Belt Mind, there is a Black Belt Mind course for free on the digitaldojo.net. And there is a NAP class for, I think it's under $50, that where you can learn how to do this on your own. So you can go there, and if you are a listener from NFTS, I had that song in my head for an hour last week. You get 50% off, so it's super easy peasy cheap. It'll give you all the basics. And then, of course, as we've been saying all the time lately, the audios, because we're doing a nap round and then a positive nap round to set in a new belief in all of those audios. So you're not only getting information on why things are happening, in this case, cravings, chronic pain, and unweighting, so metabolism, self worth issues, and body image issues. You're not only getting information on why that's there, but you're also getting nap rounds to clear out those things. And you're getting a positive nap round to set in a new belief for you. So it's sort of a full meal deal. And the first 3 nights are free for all of those, and more coming soon.
Mm-hmm.
And then the unweighting one, there's 21 nights if you want to pay for it, again at half price, because you're the cool NFTS people.
Come and join us at the digitaldojo.net. Access all this good stuff there through our social media, on our web platform. Pinterest, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook are all ways you can access and get into the place where you can examine at your leisure anything that we might have to offer that could potentially be of use and benefit to you. And as I've been doing customarily at the end of each of our wonderful conversations, I'm reminding everybody that, hey, let's take this year to fix it in 26. This is the year that we can all support each other, band together, lift each other up, and create brand new space in a brand new community and in a brand new way that's ours. And we don't have to sit back and wait for anybody to do it for us. So we're excited to have you join us at any time at the digitaldojo.net, and it will give you an opportunity to start the conversation.